Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 12 p.m. RNA TechBit series. My name is AFrost, and these are TechBit mini-series that we've developed here at R9, Region 9. And they're just quick 30-minute blocks of time for us to come together and work together as educators and learn something new together. So about technology. So what are some outcomes for the mini-series? Become more and more familiar with Google Suites and other technology resources, identify ways of utilizing those tools and resources in the classroom and at work, set up those tools and make sure that we can practice and play together. What are some tech norms? Everybody participate. You can always choose to pass though. But I always love an active listener, open and honest. Don't be afraid to take those risks, find connections among each other and the different areas that we work in education and support each other. That is the main outcome of today. So there are some resources that I've added to today's lesson. So Google Sheet beats Excel with these Google features. So 10 sheet features that beat Excel. And it also discusses pivot tables in that example, and then pivot tables in Google Sheets. So make sure to check out those additional videos and resources. I also have a practice and play sheet that we're going to be playing together on, which I'll share with you in the chat area. They can always find my contact information if you ever need to provide me with any feedback or questions or comments. So let's go ahead and get started. If everybody can still see my screen, hopefully. All right.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Let's go ahead and I'm going to pull up the chat. We had a Google Doc in there. If you guys can kind of go into that area, I'd appreciate it. And I am going to so pivot sheets are a little bit challenging for me. Because I didn't really understand the data that we were looking at when we first talked about it. And I didn't really understand how a person in education would really be able to utilize a pivot table. So this took a little bit of communication effort with Lisa from Las Cruces, Lisa Roth, and I just want to introduce her to you and kind of, Lisa, can you walk us through kind of what we discovered together?
Yes, just a minute. Somebody needed the link again. They came in.
Oh,
and so
okay.
Please let us know, Amanda, if it didn't, Michelle, if it didn't work, okay? And so I am a secondary science teacher. So that was kind of my world. And April, if you could go back and just show them the chemistry one. And when I think of data as a classroom teacher, it's like, testing data, which causes me no excitement and often didn't help me in the classroom. So I had come across this data table for chemistry. And if you just want to scroll up and down a little bit, April, and if I would show this to my students, it would be meaningless to them. So then if you click on a pivot table, the next sheet over, when I finally figured out pivot tables, then it was like, oh, so a pivot table allows me to take that meaningless amount of data that goes on for pages and pages, and I could group what elements are alkali earth metals or which ones are alkali metals. And with what April has shown us with sheets, I could tell that the children could color in those groups. And then if you click on the very last sheet, now there you go. If you click on that, well, then the kids are like, oh, cool, my colors match, a periodic table colors. And so it allows kids to create and gather knowledge. But as a classroom teacher, I want to learn how to do pivot tables so I can teach them to ask questions. When you look like at that first sheet again, that first page of all those properties, what questions can you ask? and then then a pivot table allows me to group that information together and then look for patterns like, well, it's a bunch of different answers in column C for the pink group, but wow, in the, on the, and so that's what a pivot table helped me understand, was that you could take a lot of information. And I was talking to my mom, she said, that's great for chemistry, but there's teachers from everywhere. And so now if you want to go to the sports one, I found another data table. So I think the key for using a pivot table is finding a meaningful data table. And I looked at this data table and it was like, oh, I can see applications for PE. I can see applications for English, journalism, math, things like that. And so if you would click on the sort and explore table, that page, yeah. Normally, what I would have done without a pivot table is I color code all of Brazil's wins and color code all of Germany's wins. And then I could count how many wins there were in Brazil, or how many, how many times Italy was a runner up. And if you showed kids without pivot tables, you have to cut and paste the columns and color in the squares to get that information. Even if you don't have them learn to create pivot tables themselves, at least hopefully you would see that there's a value in a pivot table. Because then if you go to pivot table 4, you can see it took me 4 attempts. I get that same information with 3 clicks of a button. And I know when Argentina, won the World Cups, who the runner-up was, average attendance, how many matches it took for people to win. And that's what a pivot table does. So if you go back to that first sheet, I would think you wouldn't want much of a smaller data table than this. You got to have enough information that it's worth not sitting there color coding the squares or counting the boxes. And so that green box in the corner is what taught me how to do these things. Over in the bottom right-hand corner is what's called explore on, And that told me what kind of pivot tables I could create and allowed me to see how I could format it. And so that was the power of that explore button, was it shows you which graphs it's using and what kind of questions you're asking. So I think the key is to teach kids to ask questions and then using pivot tables to help find those answers. Or once you've created a pivot table, what questions can be answered with that information. So I don't know if you want to start a new pivot table and we can make some tables, or look at the one I created. April, you tell me.
So I think that's, well, I want to kind of just maybe open it up for any questions. So thank you, Lisa, so much for walking us through that and explaining that information and how we can better use pivot tables. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Okay. So what I really liked about what you talked about, Lisa, was this explore button, which I didn't factor into our last lesson. So when creating a pivot table, there's a couple of ways to do that, right? There's always a couple of ways that we can access those controls. And I think what we figured out was there's the insert and a pivot, right? And then I also want you to keep in mind the explore button that Lisa mentioned as well. Because when you're dealing with a bunch of data, and like she stated before, you want something that has a lot of meat on it. But as you're going through this information, this is when a pivot table would be the most beneficial. So make sure that we have enough pieces of data to look at. And I like her examples that she's picked. So let's go ahead and play around with it a little bit and create our own new pivot table. So working off of this one, Lisa, let's go ahead and play around with a new pivot table. And I'm going to go ahead and say in a new sheet. Is that okay? What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. So this will kind of walk us through what it's going to feel like to create the pivot table from the World Cup data sheet that we were working with. This is pivot table 5. So what would we like to look at? Any suggestions? And go ahead.
Oh, the suggestions are over on the right-hand side that you could look at to compare things. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think would be the most, and rows and columns, let's just focus on that right now. So what rows do you think we should add here? What information from this, right?
And that's a key skill for the kids to learn any age is asking questions. So I mean, that's just where you start with the kids is what questions can we ask from this graph?
I don't know. I'm kind of like of the winner thing.
Most people are.
Yeah. I want to know who won, right? So, oops. Winner. Okay. Columns.
Well, and that's the one I couldn't figure out. So we'll have to see that one because I just kept adding rows.
I did a year.
And that's fine.
I don't know if that's really what we need, but again, we're just playing, right? And I can always add in.
Yeah, then you would pick values next. If you want to do it that way, you could pick values and it would tell you what to pick.
Calculated fill. So what do you think for values? What am I looking at here? Runner up. Ew, goal scored. Oh, I think I just did average. Crap. I did not mean to do that. I wanted to do gold scores and I was click happy.
But it's so easy. That's what you can tell the kids. It's so easy to change if you pick the wrong thing. That's what this Explore does. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy to fix and recalculate your pivot table. So Hector and Isabel and Amanda, any questions so far or comments?
Not really. I'm just watching and learning because I know absolutely nothing. So same for me. So play away.
Yeah. And so you discovered the thing, and this just like you could ask the kids, like in math class or something, do you see a trend over the years? Are they getting more goals in a game, you know, through the World Cups, or are they getting less goals? And then somebody else will say, hey, I want to know, you know, the average attendance. Does that change over the years? And you just change from average goals to attendance.
Yeah, it's super easy to, let's see, teams. I want the teams. No, that's not what I want.
But see, April, that shows them, you know, the world was getting bigger at the very beginning. You know, there were just 13 teams, you know, and then as time changed, you know, more teams, more goals were scored. And
right.
So teaching kids to ask questions is really important.
Go ahead.
Someone was mentioning we could just you know, arrange by how many goals scored per World Cup, or maybe for each winner of the World Cup.
Okay, so maybe, okay, so let me go back to,
Oh, just keep everything in rows, April, to answer that question. Keep everything in the rows. That's what I know. So you winner. And then you wanted to know what next?
Goals scored, and I'm not sure if that would be something done by having maybe a column of the year, or
doesn't really show me anything on the.
April, just go back and
Yes.
pull and click on year, that gray box year, and pull it up one. And watch-
This one.
Yeah, just pull it up to, no, just the box, the gray box itself, where the word, yeah, and pull that up and put it in rows. If you just take the mouse by the word year,
Oh, and pull it up.
there you go, watch. And that's how you can change.
Oh my goodness, Lord Almighty.
But take the year out of the column category and put it in the row category. Take that whole thing and pull it up. There you go. Now, see, isn't that cool? It tells you who won that year. And then now you'll just have to go ahead and add total goals back, because that's what he was asking. Click on add next to row. And now do goals scored.
Goal scored.
Yeah. And you can click on the green box to take away winner, or take that the green box away, the totals, at least for our work. It's not helping us.
Wait. Where are you? And which box are you talking about?
Where it says
Okay.
show totals, over where it says show totals, underneath year, underneath winner, you can take away show totals. There you go.
There we go.
And
Okay.
one more time under winner, click the green box under winner.
Okay.
Oh, one more time, underneath goals scored. There you go.
Okay.
And I assume that means for the whole World Cup, 70 goals were scored, not that they won with 70 goals. I assume and that just shows you more and more teams were playing as the years went by.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Did you like that, Hector? Did that make sense?
Yes, thank you, for arranging it like that. It's fun to see how it works once you rearrange things in the editor.
Yeah, so go ahead and pull winner up higher than year. And oops. There we go. And that's what I'm saying. So it's easier to manipulate that huge hunk of data with a pivot table as your questions evolve.
Well, and you know what? For the technical piece of it, I didn't know you can click and drag. So I did not know that piece. So that was really a strong building block for me when I'm utilizing Google Suites. So thank you for showing me that, Lisa. Oh my gosh.
I like how easy it is to manipulate. Like you really can't mess it up.
No, because at first the data is there. Yeah. Now you can do values and columns, but as far as I got were rows, but it helped me get what I wanted and ideas of how to make kids ask questions and show them.
I love it. Thank you so much. Isabel, any questions?
Not so far.
Can you would you ever use pivot tables? Or do you think that you could utilize pivot tables?
I would probably try and just mess with it to learn it. If that makes sense.
No, it does. That makes perfect sense. I just wanted to say, Lisa, thank you so much for your time and energy. And I had a really bad week last week, and I just want to say thank you to Lisa for reaching out and encouraging me to keep going forward and learning. So I appreciate it.
February's rough on everybody in school. Don't forget that. February's a rotten month.
Yeah, I know, but it's always hard when it happens. So I appreciate you. And
I mean, if people want to see what happens with columns and values as they have questions, I don't know if you have to go all the way to 1230 or not, but that's as far as I got.
I don't know. Hector, do you have any more questions?
Not really. I actually created a copy of the sheet and I was trying it out myself.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Can I ask
Thank
a
you.
question?
Of course.
I I was a few minutes late because I had a student in my office and I didn't see, how do we even have accessibility to a pivot table within Google Sheets?
Okay, all right. So do you have the sheet or the copy of the sports data? Are you playing with that? I'm sorry, Michelle.
I did open that, yes.
Okay, so you're in there right now. So kind of, there's a couple of ways to skin that cat, and there's always a few ways to initiate any of this. But the pivot table specifically, what I figured out was you go to insert and go to pivot table.
Okay.
Okay. And the other nice thing about when you're working with a lot of data like this is what we were kind of, or Lisa was expressing to us, was this explore button here. If you click on it, which is on the bottom right-hand side, and you scroll down, it's going to give you some ideas or some questions to start asking yourself with all the data that you're looking at, and maybe how a pivot table could help capture that information for you. So just know that those are the two spaces that we found where we can create a pivot table quickly.
Okay, that's helpful because I think it could actually be helpful with our asset map for our community school grant. So thank you.
Good. Yeah, anytime that you're trying to find patterns, bunch of data, trying to find patterns in any of your data, or just pull that information together, I think a pivot table is a resource. Lisa?
Yeah, as long as you have enough data, you can show her again my sort and explore sheet. And just if you don't want to use a data table or a pivot table, the sort and explore, you're stuck with coloring in boxes and hand counting things. And so that's more helpful. And I'm not sure, but you can check on either pivot table to see if can we go straight from graphs on our pivot table. And I'm going to guess we probably can do all the spreadsheet tools as well. If
Data, let's see.
A pie chart from column A.
Insert chart. Oh, let's do that. Okay, I can do it. Insert. Chart.
I'm hoping.
Well, I thought I could.
Okay, and that's what's important to know.
Oh, there it is. it's pulling up those.
Okay.
Ooh,
And then if you go on the right-hand side from line chart to pie chart, go to the right of your screen. There you go. There you go. Yeah.
I'm trying to pull it over. There we go. I was like, get out of the way. There we go.
So the pivot charts, you don't lose the graphing capabilities.
Well, I think it's just like layers upon data upon data upon data. It's just, if you understand the function of what and what it's capable of, I think it can layer on each other. So that's good. I like that conversation too. Isabel, does that help? Or
Yes.
or maybe that was Michelle. I'm sorry.
Yes, yes, it does. Thank you.
Can you just scroll your screen back a little bit? Because I feel like I'm talking to, somehow it just told you the winners, the top winners, and that's why the percents don't make any sense. So you'd have to include something else, because that's just telling you had those winners on that graph.
So maybe, are you saying something else in our pivot table?
You can, or if you go over to the green again.
Wait. I'm sorry. I got lost. Get over to the green.
To the green plus. And then just ask it to count. Is there a place where it says like count winners? And then you get the little table saying Argentina won twice and Brazil won.
I see goals scored versus year. Oh my God.
Oh, ask about this data. We have a little above the median goals where you were, it says ask about this data.
Okay.
Click in
Yes.
there, count winners, I think is how it phrases it. And chart
Mhm.
over to the right, chart. Okay, so there are 8 winners. Okay. And you have to find, it's kind of a weird language, but it's like, or frequency of winners, because this is telling you there were 8 countries that have won the World Cup. But if we do
Okay.
win frequency winner, distribution, or
Is that your mama?
no, not mine. Huh. And then chart? No?
So distribution of winners would look like this.
Right. And that was like the graph they gave us.
Insert chart. Let's see what it says.
Frequency?
I don't know. Let's try.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You just have to kind of learn how it talks.
Oops. I could do it. No. Answer chart again. Formula. That's amazing though. Well,
You kind of have to learn its language.
of what it's looking for or the terminology that it's using. And I totally get that. And that's like any software, any programming that you work with. Well, pivot tables. I don't know. They're a beautiful thing, but I'm still not a master of it, that's for sure.
Me either.
I'm gonna you're better than I am, Lisa. Better than I am. Well, it is 12:30. I'm gonna go ahead and stop today's session. Thank you for popping in and joining us today. I hope you learned something. Whether it was just even how to figure out how to initiate a pivot table. And then just have the courage to kind of click and explore and play with those fields that are offered to us. So to me, I learned a lot. Lisa, you taught me so much more about pivot tables and you gave me the courage to look at it. So I appreciate you and thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Get better though, okay?
I will. Thank you so much. All right, you guys, have a great day. Hector, I hope you figure out how to use it in some way, shape, or form. Michelle, Isabel, have a wonderful day. As educators, just keep on swimming and stay out of that wind.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, April.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Amanda.
Hey, did you share like the notes? Did you have notes on that one?
Yeah. Do you want to look at
Because I
them?
want to play
Yeah.
with that.
Okay.
You-
You know what? Yeah, I am pretty sure because you guys are pulling in so much data that you're probably going to be able to, hold on. Sorry, there.
No, you're fine.
Chat.
I just want to play with it again. Because, yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It just depends. Just know that it's there.
Yeah.
You may be able to express what you need with charts and graphs, but that pivot table will definitely pull out like yeses and nos and student data really quickly if you have a lot
Yeah,
or repeating patterns. Does that make sense?
it does.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to play with it and figure it out. I'm hands-on like that.
Well, that's me too. But yeah, and I thought Lisa did a good job. I feel like she understood it and was able to articulate how to utilize it in the classroom a little bit more,
Yeah.
but maybe
And
not.
that's good because hopefully you have mostly teachers. Do you have a clue if they're teachers or just random district people? Or-
they're either district people or teachers, but for the most part, district teachers. But you know what? Lisa is, I need to pull her in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if she could be a mentor or not, but she's really good. Amanda,
Yeah, I like her. I like what she was telling you.
when she emailed me, I don't know what her story is. I don't know how old she is, but she's taking care of her sick mom right now in
Uh-huh.
Cruces. And she's a retired teacher. But I love her to death. Yeah. She's really cool.
Cool.
Really, really a nice person.
It's neat how we get to meet like people,
I know.
you know, and make connections. It's cool.
But anyways, so I think she's fabulous. And then I don't even know where I was thinking about that, but yeah, hopefully you can use the pivot tables. I'm sad that Tessa and what's her name weren't here. Allison, just to learn a little bit more. But and you know what I didn't do? I didn't record.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Am I? Oh, I am. Aha.